the design concepts. Those are a series of alternatives, and one of them to review the draft master plan. And those workshops involve a broad outreach to both the campus community and to the surrounding community. And this is in addition to our outreach through social media and electronic ways of participating in the process. So we hope to have a lot of participation. We want to show you our vision. We have a little movie that takes about 3 minutes that we want to show you, and then we will explain how we got to that vision. So I just need to get to here. Can you do this? Okay, great. There we go. So this is using a 3D computer model to look at the campus starting from your historic time and then moving out as an aerial photograph and looking over Colorado Boulevard, coming along Colorado Boulevard, and turning around to look at the corner of Hill and Colorado, where we do envision some development. In fact, we can talk about this in more detail during the question period if we have time. Moving then along and coming into the campus where the bookstore is and the campus center, just to give you an orientation, student services and the main quad. And then moving along, what you see up here are 4 new buildings, and we'll tell you what those things are. We wanted to create a new entry into the campus. We wanted to create a sense of welcome and a sense of having a legible entry to the campus so that you can really understand where you are when you get here. This would be a new academic quad between 4 new academic buildings. It would also have a student union and food service. And again, I'll talk about that a little bit more detail in a minute. Zooming out now along Del Mar and then coming along to Hill, we see an expanded opportunities for the vocational programs and preserving the frontage along Colorado, because that is your historic frontage, into the Boone Sculpture Garden, the idea of creating shade and seating and making that a more of an inviting place to be. Moving around above where we are now to the Center of the Arts and thinking about creating real plazas and gathering spaces outdoors next to this building so that it can serve the students and the arts programs. Now coming around from the south along Del Mar, and that would be the concept master plan, and we're going to go into that in more detail. So we want to stop this. Okay. Escaping. So the campus has grown, and we've worked on this campus before. In fact, I guess it's not unfair to say we are the architects of this building. And so there's been more confusion about where things are, and we've heard at the public meetings that people really wanted to have more of a sense of welcome and more of a sense of legibility. And so we have reorganized the campus into 3 main zones: the community zone, the academic core, and the campus support zone. Chuck is going to talk about the community zone and the campus support zone in a minute, but I want to focus on the academic core because it is your core mission. We've done an analysis of your building conditions, and we are aware that there are 4 buildings within the academic core that are not in good condition. Also, the C building is in better condition, but it's not serving your mission very well. We also heard during the public workshops that their open space system is disconnected. The spaces are not connected to one another, and that in many places there's not enough seating, there's not enough shade, there are not enough places to plug in your devices, and so it is, some of these spaces are underutilized and uninviting, and we would like to have the master plan change that. Also, a significant chunk of space in the middle of your academic core is taken up with facilities that should be somewhere else. So the W building and the pool, as well as the boiler and the chillers. And we know that the boilers and the chillers kind of clog up one of the main routes into the campus and create a kind of a confusing and uninviting entry for a lot of people coming to the campus. We want to make that legible. We've also analyzed the location of your academic programs, and we've looked at the buildings that you're considering remodeling. We think that you should not spend money to remodel the R building. We've studied various ways to remodel it. We've looked at moving the corridors from the exterior into the interior, and yes, those kinds of things are possible architecturally, but we believe that this building will always be an inflexible, outdated building, and that you really want a building that you can create state-of-the-art facilities in. We understand that the college has considered investing about $50 million into the remodel of our building, and we are saying that we believe you should invest that money into a truly state-of-the-art building. The C building, on the other hand, is part of your architectural heritage, and therefore it deserves consideration to be remodeled. We have also looked at ways that the building could be completely remodeled from the inside, and the exploration of that is going to be part of what we do during the master plan. We feel that the V building should go. It's old. It's not going to serve your needs even if it is remodeled, and its location is not a good one. It will impede really good development of the C building and making that more useful to you, and it also impedes creating a really fabulous art squad outside of this building, the Center for the Arts. The W building and the pool, as I mentioned, we feel belong in the campus support zone and not in this academic core, and that over time, as those buildings and those facilities outlive their useful life, that those functions would be moved. So replacing these things in the academic core and making a change would give you a vision that looks something like this. There would be a replacement for the R building. We're seeing that as in 2 buildings. These would be about 4-story buildings. A replacement for the V building, a new student union with food service, expansion of vocational programs, and of course, this first STEM building, and then space for a second, an expansion of that building for the expansion of the sciences, engineering, and math programs. We envision a new academic plaza that between these 4 buildings, as you see, that might look something like this. We imagine people spilling out between classes. There would be food service. There would be place for students to have sculpture and art exhibits and other kinds of programs that relate to the academic programs that are inside those buildings. Just as important, these new open space areas, the area coming in from the parking garage at the bottom, the new academic quad to your left, and a new quad for the Center for the Arts at your right, are related to your existing open spaces and create a really connected space plan so that all of these spaces are connected to each other and you can readily get from one to the other. Other kinds of landscape changes and the Boone Sculpture Gallery would create something that perhaps looks like this with shade structures and seating, possibly a new cafe, more popping space to be. So it gives you the opportunity to more at True Galleries. There are a lot of people hanging in there. The facility. We have a dense phase. This is like an icon. I don't accuse it. What one is a slide shows this. These are strategic ideas. These are ideas that would take through the next 15 years and be on the looking so that you can see where you're going. It's important to always look in the channel. And creating, in addition to the facilities built and the boilers and the chillers, go toward the west of Del Mar and in the support zone buildings that would then allow you to.
In fact, on occasions, if the conditions are right, sometimes you could biannually notice that there's this grand entrance to PCA to make those engagements and to create better connections as we reach out to the community, create a 24/7, create live, play, learn, teach environments, portion of the 3 lawns murals. Left, and these development opportunities for mixed-use residential. Santa Monica College did the exact same thing. They made the decision to pull the pool out of the middle of their campuses. If you think all these different data animation converge, they land heavily in about 5 areas, one of which is Rosemead, and a couple to the east. It's not.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do you guys want to take a few minutes and summarize?
And-
Okay, sure.
About 4 minutes.
And that's based on approximately 0.75% annual increase in enrollment.
Okay. So I'd just like to summarize then. We looked at the evaluation criteria that the committee and you all would be using to evaluate all of the 3 teams, and we want to just emphasize that we are showing a plan that does reflect PCC's vision to create a welcoming, comfortable, and flexible campus, to reuse and maximize the property, whether that's existing buildings or space to build new buildings, to build for the future, as Mindy said, and to create strategic partnerships. We also believe that this plan is innovative because it creates a true college town ambience and creates connection with the community. It has a fit with the college's historic nature because it preserves that Colorado frontage, but it also makes use of that to expand the college's facilities and functions. Gateways and public image was another thing that came up in the public meetings, and we believe that this plan does establish a new front door identity and welcoming entries. And I just would like to point out that the building that you see behind all of this text, the one on the corner of Colorado and Hill, we were envisioning that as an allied health building, that you would take your health-based programs and put them there because we know that they're very popular, we know that they also serve the public, and you want that to be somewhere that people can easily get to. We think that it fulfills the community integration goal because it expands into the community. And it creates a functional campus, a legible campus because of the new zoning. It optimizes space by using existing spaces and creating space for new state-of-the-art teaching and learning facilities. And Mindy talked about teaching and learning a lot at the introduction, and I wanted to make the point that the level of detail in these buildings is something that will come as we work on the master plan. We believe that this plan creates a very strong sense of place because it remakes the campus open space system, and it is sustainable because it optimizes the use of resources, and those are, again, things that we would get into more detail. It enhances mobility because the district plan capitalizes on public transit, and so we believe that it is a feasible and viable plan. The phasing, the project budget, and the schedule make this a real vision that PCC could achieve. And so they always tell you when you do an interview to ask for the job. We can't wait to get started with this project. We've been working with the college for a long time, and we would love to continue working with you, and we thank you for your time.
Thanks very much.
I guess we should.
All right, we're going to have a moment here while we transfer to our next team. Oh, yep. No questions at the moment. We're moving on to our next one, so hold on just a second while we get our next team up here. And you can take a moment. You have your evaluation sheets to get that going. So we have our next one is, you're already on it.
Yes. It's this one.
One of my questions was, how many square feet are you removing from the plan? The other question is, the pool is being moved, the pool's very new, being moved to a new campus where I can understand justification for it. Have you ever thought of the pool as an amenity, as an open space amenity, like the reflecting pond is? Leave it where it is. Well, to answer
So I'm just going to quickly get our next team up here. That was just a quick side comment for folks who are online asking about the pool as an amenity. And I think they gave a nice little answer there. Unfortunately, it was offline, but we're going to move on to Gendler as our next presenter.
Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you tonight. It's been a while since we last were with a group from Pasadena City College, and really we're very excited about the opportunity to work with you, planning for the future success of students here. I'd like to introduce the team. I'm Claudia Carroll with Gendler. I'm the project manager for the team and the primary contact, and Deb.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Shepley. I'm the lead planner for our team. I've been working within the California Community College system for 19 years, and I've worked at over 40 California community colleges throughout the state. So it's a pleasure to be here as part of your team. I'll be leading the planning efforts moving forward.
Hi, my name is Nathan Kim. I'm the project architect on the project, and my resume isn't as extensive as Deborah's, but I'm one of the education studio directors in the office.
Hello, and my name is Judy Frank. I'm a little bit different. I'm the person who's going to be focused on implementation, on financing, and on bonds. And I do sit on a bonding authority for the state of California, so I'm somewhat familiar with how that works at the state level and also how it works at the municipal level. So that will be my role here.
We know we have a short time with you tonight. We're going to take about 20 minutes, and what we really want to concentrate on is our process. How would we work with you? Talk a little bit about some of our big ideas, and then talk a bit about implementation, how creativity and pragmatism work together so we come up with a plan together that's actually doable. If any of you feel like moving down, because kind of a big room and you're all far away, feel free to move around. So the most critical aspect of the way we do master planning is that we consider it a collaborative process. We understand that shared governance and a participatory process is required by the community college, and it's a great match with the way we like to work. Now, in this particular exercise, this phase 1 competition, it's a very condensed version of that. We've had not as much contact as we liked, so what we've done is condensed our normal process and to be able to meet with you tonight and show you a sample of what we can do. And so what we've done is, in the first phase, we've learned a little bit about you, about your vision, about your goals, about the constraints and opportunities of the physical parameters of the site. We've come up with some big ideas, and then we also have some ideas about how to implement this, how to phase it. But, you know, our normal process is quite a bit more rigorous, quite a bit more robust. And what you see there in those top dark blue bubbles, PCC review, that's our natural feedback loop. At every phase, we have this, we interact with you, we get information from you, we integrate it, we review it with you, and then we incorporate that feedback into our process. So going forward, we're constantly listening to you, incorporating your ideas. We're assuming through the final facilities master plan, we will be through that by the spring of 2015, and then the environmental review, if there is an EIR required, that will take a substantial timeline longer than that. One of the aspects of this phase 2 is that we are going to need to spend time developing a program with you, and that is something that we did in a very high level during this first phase. So we really want to understand the needs, including utilization, that would be the supply, the demand, and then the gap between that would become the basis for the development program. Something else in this phase of the work, in phase 2, that we didn't share with you for the work we're going to show tonight is the options phase. We come up with several solutions, not just one, and we evaluate them with you. This option phase allows you to consider qualitative and quantitative factors, and that way we select from there the preferred option to develop into the final master plan. So to start to get into what we did during this phase, planning starts with knowing a little bit more about you. And first, we looked at just kind of your heritage. It's so incredible, the foundation for this college, so different than most other community colleges. You're on TV being the front lawn to the Rose Bowl parade. So it's a really strong brand. It's really a great basis to start to think about some of the opportunities. Where your students are from, more than half of your students come from outside of the district. That really speaks to the success of your academic program. But how can we start to attract more in-district students, especially those from areas that are underrepresented in the district? And that speaks to the district-wide plan, how we're going to establish satellite campuses or other facilities throughout the district. Understanding your students. You have a really full range of students. There's the veterans, international students, retired senior students, and high school kids coming to PCC to transfer. And we're looking for facilities that are to appeal to a wide range of students. And we have this notion of residential surrogacy, where we know the most successful students are students who spend a longer amount of time on campus, who participate, and that's one of the keys to success, and we want to create those opportunities on the campuses. We had a great site walkthrough with Ruben at the beginning of this process. It was a long time ago, but we did get a lot of great information, and this is really goes to understanding the physical parameters. So things like building condition, what uses are where, and we're looking at just the main campus here. We really like figure ground diagrams you see in the upper right. That really goes to tell us about the pattern of open space, the density. So we look at all these very carefully, and the outcome of this analysis really gives us hints to how to plan for the future. Understanding trends in higher education, just like you have looked at trends and have identified some opportunities in your educational master plan. Gendler does some original research in this area, and there's definitely some alignment in the findings, interdisciplinary learning, distance learning, collaborative learning. Taking a look at your educational master plan goals, you're all really familiar, we won't go through this, but there are these specific goals that we're going to translate into physical solutions. And then just a quick overview that we've had a chance to work with your community. We did some quick exercises in an earlier meeting just to understand, again, the issues that are important to you, priorities. You can see that innovation and technology was really high on the list there. We also did an exercise to understand experiential factors, what worked for you on campus and what didn't. And we have those Post-it notes in yellow and blue. And people really got a chance to say what they liked and what they didn't like about campus. And then we look at all this analysis and what are the outcomes. And as I explained, there's some physical parameters we look at, but what we want to do from this is also understand what the drivers are, and these we call planning principles. This is something that's an exercise which sets the overarching goals for the master plan. So these principles would address the things that are really important to you, the things we need to achieve. And that becomes a criteria for success. We can evaluate the master plan in later phases and see if they fulfill these. We took a crack at these on our own. We didn't have the benefit of interacting with you, but this is something we really need buy-in from all parties to agree on. So we know it's very important to create a flexible campus and leveraging technology. We learned that from the community meetings previously. We need to work for changing teaching styles and learning environments. We know what we know about the future is that we don't know about the future. And we're looking at this plan for at least 15 years out. Things could change a lot. Your historic legacy, you know, is really a wonderful thing about the campus and the college. Sustainability, that's important to most everyone these days, but we want you to be really ambitious. We're looking towards achieving as close to net zero as we can in this plan. And then, of course, as I said before, the economics are huge here. You know, if it's not feasible, it's not the right plan for you. So we want to get into some of our ideas, and Deb's gonna take it from there.
Thank you. So based on our understanding, what we learned in doing our research and in speaking with you, we put together organizing ideas, built off the principles, and they served as a framework for our preliminary recommendations. So there are 4. The first one is from college to network. The second is from fixed to flexible. The third is grid to green. And the fourth is campus to community. And what we'd like to do is walk through each one of these with you to explain what they mean. So beginning with college to network. This is looking at your campuses now. Of course, your main campus where we are today, your 2 satellite campuses, the other places where you provide education. For example, we know you provide some classes in the high school outreach centers. And of course, there's a lot of online access to education through PCC. And we see this growing beyond to become more of a network so that in the next 15 years, as part of your Centennial Master Plan, you have more centers. And some of these can be very focused on partnerships with business and industries. Additional high school satellites, more online, of course, and an idea that we've talked about called the Cafe College. Provide informal storefront locations throughout the community to really increase the access to PCC and to learning for all the students that you serve. And taking this concept then to your broader district boundaries with lots of these locations to serve the variety of students that you have and that you serve. And providing just options for everyone to get the type of education, type of learning they're looking for in the type of environment that they're comfortable with. So moving to the next idea is about fixed to flexible. And as Claudia mentioned, everything is changing constantly. So creating a space that is adaptable to change over time to address your changing program needs is so important. So our idea is to come up with this kit of parts, and what you're seeing is a piece of this, and within it, there's almost puzzle pieces. They go together and they provide all the types of environments needed to support your program needs. There's the formal learning, the informal learning, the group study, the individual study, there's the indoor, there's the outdoor, and these can be developed specifically for program needs and then adapt over time. So looking at then taking that kit of parts and serving all of your needs, but taking that sort of one part, you have all the spaces for all the different types of students and the different types of learners you have, and fitting it into your campus. By putting several of these together, you can create an academic village. Within a village, you could cluster different disciplines and create learning communities and really increase opportunities for cross-disciplinary collaboration. So jumping to number 3, we share your vision and goals related to sustainability, and you have an incredible opportunity here on campus, as you have done and can continue to be really good stewards of the environment. So there's a lot of opportunity to reduce your carbon footprint. We can help put you on your way or continue on your path to sustainability and specifically to net zero. And then the 4th idea is from campus to community. So we look at where your main campus sits within the community. right along Colorado, which is a fantastic, I mean, what a connector and corridor to have the visibility of your campus along that corridor and to really develop that front edge, that formal edge, as part of the entire community, increasing your visibility, your brand, and really engaging with the communities that you serve. Your communities, they're your students, but of course anyone who interacts with the college, local business owners, all your neighbors, anyone who comes in contact or even just drives by to increase access and visibility. And so that front corridor along Colorado can become your ceremonial, basically your public interface, opportunities to engage with some activity that can take place across, and also becomes the beginning of layering of activities through the college communal zones, the academic core, back to the recreation play areas. This sort of sets up an organization for the preliminary recommendations. Throughout these spaces, then, are incredible opportunities for new facilities, and we've highlighted several of them here. One I want to mention specifically is the PCC Welcome Center, circled in the middle at the corner of Colorado and Hill, an incredible opportunity to make a really big difference here. So I know we're breezing through a lot of conversation and dialogue that we've gone through, so now we want to share with you the preliminary plan. And again, as Claudia mentioned, we've designed this and had conversations amongst ourselves and have not had the opportunity to engage with you, to talk with you about some of these ideas. So Nathan's actually passing around a model that we put together. We put it together as a study model, and we thought, well, let's bring it here and share it with you, because there's nothing like getting close to something and actually touching and taking your eye level down and viewing it. So we want to share a couple of the ideas in the preliminary plan with you. And a couple of pieces that we did as part of the plan, it was important that we begin with a program. So we made some assumptions related to the amount of building space, open space, and parking. And based on our analysis for the building space, we looked at what space could be demolished, what could be built, and we have a net increase of 15% in building area that we know that needs to be analyzed in a lot more detail, but we put that together for this plan. We looked at increasing the open space on campus because we know the importance of it, so we increased that by 8%. And of course, there's always a need for more parking. So there is 10% more parking. We looked at different ways to handle your parking in the future to address that important need. We studied the site to look at areas that could be developed, areas that are either underutilized now, that could be developed into something new, or areas where there are old, aging facilities that were not worth renovating and needed to be replaced. So we identified those spaces. There's a lot of information on this plan, but I'll kind of jump to where we went with this. And one of the major areas where we think we can make a really big difference, or you all can make a really big difference in the Centennial plan, is changing the first impression, the corner of Colorado and Hill that looks like this now, as you know, but in the future could turn into a vibrant corner with the addition of your new PCC Welcome Center. This can form the gateway, the first impression to anyone arriving on campus looking for information. And it ties into the vibrant corridor of Colorado where so much development can occur to address all your students and your community who engage with PCC on a daily basis. We know from our research on student success how important that first impression is. It's a very lasting one. But setting your students with that first great interaction with a counselor or someone in financial aid, that really sets them off on their course to success. Which ties into some ideas we have regarding your circulation, which is, we know, somewhat challenging in areas of your campus. Some areas are difficult to navigate. So building on your series of pathways, we've developed a multi-level pathway structure. And this is an idea our team is playing with, of having more multi-level paths at upper levels like you have in parts of your campus. This is a second level pedestrian corridor, which is more of a plaza. And along it, there's opportunities for activities to take place. For example, small informal gathering spaces, actually on the corridor. But then from this spot, also being able to view all the activities, increasing students' awareness of everything PCC has to offer. And in all of these spaces, addressing the needs of all your students, of your diverse student body. So we think this is an opportunity. We'd love to chat with you more about it, to find out your comments and thoughts about this idea. This pathway ties into your overall campus. So you can see the red line that runs horizontally. That's where we were thinking perhaps this pathway could be. And it ties into a series of spaces that are developed on the campus. So this is the open space plan. And we're looking at developing a lot of open spaces, building on some of the wonderful ones you have, but adding more. Because we know it's so important to look at not only the buildings, but the spaces between the buildings, and create places for students to spend time and to engage with each other, build relationships. So this all rolls into the preliminary plan. You see many of the recommendations that are all illustrated on this graphic. So off to the right, we have the organizing principles, again, all kind of rolled up, and we'll come back to this in the Q&A if you'd like to ask questions. So from here, we then take these ideas and say, okay, with all these ideas on the main campus, how do we branch that out? Because a lot of those ideas repeated on your satellite campuses, either existing and new, can help to increase this brand and identity to know, for your community to know that these are all connected. Again, continuing to reach out to your student population, the multiple types of students that you have. So from here, we move to implementation. How does it happen?
Right. So, of course, when we work together like this, I am kind of always on their case about implementation, financing, affordability, and costs. And so our iterative process will be constantly addressing that as we go through. The other aspect of this, we know very well, if we can go to that next slide, this shows you sort of where the sources of revenue are, and you, I think, know those pretty well. But I think we're pretty well resigned to the fact that the capital outlay program for the state of California is very limited. And so we know quite well that we are going to probably head for a local bond issue. And so in this case, you're the donors to this college are your taxpayers. And so we're going to really work hard to get a plan together that's going to be very compelling and very attractive. And I'll be working on that along with the team.
So that actually takes us to implementation, and we have here a suggested phasing plan. I'm going to go through this really quickly. Phasing's pretty complicated. It's not just what piece of the puzzle fits where. It's what your needs are, what's the most pressing need. It's about constructability. It's about what you have funding for. So this is just our first take on it, and we're saying, the STEM complex, replacing that science building is a priority. The Colorado Boulevard streetscape seems like low-hanging fruit. That's your first move into the community, creating that college district and the college is a catalyst for development and revitalization around Colorado Boulevard. In the second phase, we're continuing that idea around Colorado, the Welcome Center, and perhaps a foundation and alumni center. In the third phase, increasing the mixed use along Colorado Boulevard, and perhaps a campus wellness center, and that's also an opportunity for revenue enhancement, that could be open to the community and fee-based. And then finally, in the last phase, a future academic complex, and also continued mixed use and opportunity perhaps for housing for international students or other students, a public-private partnership that it could occur on the perimeters of campus. So we've created a plan that we believe has met your vision, and by becoming a catalyst for revitalization into the community, integrating campus and community, enhancing the brand of Pasadena City College, creating a new gateway, adding 144,000 square feet of flexible learning environments, increasing the usability of open space, making these spaces shaded, appropriate for individual learning, collaborative opportunities, and looking towards a large reduction in energy use. We also are very mindful of the historic character and value what is here. So we really look forward again to working with you, transforming your campuses to an environment that leads to the success of your students in the next century. And I hope we have some time for questions as we rush through that end.
Yeah, we have about 5 minutes for questions. And just so you know, if you're following the agenda, these guys got to start a little earlier than on here because we were so efficient. So if anyone has some questions, again, want to come up to the podium here. We have the going around here. Yes, why don't you please, if you don't mind, go up to the microphone.
Thank you. What are you putting in the Welcome Center? Is that things like student services?
Student services would be primary. Additional uses might be,
Public
tutoring
outreach,
help
or-
or
The other thing we're thinking about is, I think the other thing we're thinking about is a center that, where industry comes, not so much recruiting, but having that, place where the business community can interact with the students and sort of get that dynamic going. So it's an outreach sort of a center as well.
Thank you. Those are great ideas.
Anybody else?
I want to thank you first because it was a wonderful presentation and my mind is just swimming with ideas and love some of the concepts and the way you've laid them out. In a slight contrast to the previous presentation, they spent a little more time showing us exactly where each piece was going to fit, and you utilized the time a little bit more in the planning process side of it and some of the ways that those connect to our greater ideals. There's an advantage to both of those, but let's just go back to say, I totally missed where you pick up 144,000 new square feet or where the extra parking is or some of those kinds of things. And I'm looking to our moderator or to someone to say, at what point do we find out that answer? Because I was holding the beautiful map as it went by and you were talking and I just couldn't grab that thought.
Right, and so in the actual document book we delivered, there's a more detailed program which shows, what buildings were demolished, what stayed, and where the added square foot is. And I would just say the two big areas are, first, the science building now that's empty gets demolished, and there's a new, larger facility there. The modulars on the, where the science is now, there's a new facility there. We have also added that walkway and some facilities we're calling Beacon, which are these vertical facilities. So it's a very mature campus, and so the insertion of new facilities in most cases has to be really carefully done. There's not a whole lot of wide open space that we're not suggesting that you demo everything old and put in that. But since we haven't talked with you, I think one of the things we're suggesting is that these are really big ideas. We want to talk with you before we make decisions on exactly where things go and how big they should be.
Well, and then I want to add one more thing. I don't know if you noticed on phase one of the first projects that we're looking at is the implementation or improvement of the central plant. And that all goes back to just planning ahead, and so that as you get the infrastructure in place, you can kind of go downstream and really support the future buildings that are coming in with as minimal impact to the campus as you go and develop in the future phases.
And I want to add just one comment. It's interesting, if it's okay. the difference between the two presentations, because we thought a lot about this in terms of where we should emphasize our time today. And we thought it was important that we did spend time on the process, because moving into the second phase, there'll be a lot of conversations, and you're looking at the different teams in terms of how the teams will approach, how the teams will work with you, what type of collaboration. So we think that's important. So we did emphasize that by design.
So I'm afraid we have to, that's the end of our time for this one, sorry. So we're keeping everyone as fair as possible, so thank you very much. Appreciate it, and we'll have our next team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so here is our last speaker here, and another 30 minutes, and then we will hopefully get about 10 minutes of questions again, and make sure to continue to write your notes on your evaluation. So here is HGA.
Okay, thank you. Don't stand in the dark. All right, thank you. We're ready to start, I guess? And can everybody hear us? Okay, well, thank you very much. It's good to see some familiar faces, and it's good to be back. I'm James Matson with HGA Architects and Engineers. I'm the principal and the project manager. And then to my right is Celine Larkin. She's a senior planner with HGA. Ina Murphy is a senior facility programmer with facility programming and consulting. And Satoshi Toshima is a project architect with HGA Architects. So we're thrilled to be here. HGA is a firm that has been doing higher ed for quite a number of years. We bring a national expertise in planning and design of facilities for colleges and universities across the country, but we also have a very strong expertise in California, in the California Community College sector, having worked in about 20 campuses throughout California on similar projects such as yours. I think what's exciting about this project is that PCC was founded 90 years ago on the spirit of innovation to meet the demands of the changing demands of a growing community. And you really have the opportunity to continue this legacy today as you embark on the master plan and create a roadmap for developing the educational pedagogies for the global students of the 21st century. So it's a very exciting time for you. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the process we went through in phase 1 of the master plan. We'll end with the animation, which is just a minute and a half animation, and then get to the Q&A. We have revised the phasing per some of Mindy's comments and the directions for the interview. So our original report had 3 phases. We still have 3 phases, but we've changed it to the first phase is now 2020, so a 5-year look ahead. The second phase is to 2030, so a 15-year look ahead, which is what you asked for the full build-out. And then in the original competition, you'd also asked us to take a look at what the maximum building potential was on the main campus. So our third phase is what we're calling the full build-out, to see what the potential is in the future to actually fit on the existing campus. And then, so let's jump into our process. We have a very interactive and collaborative process, and Celine will walk you through that.
Well, community outreach is our way of learning who you are, what you need, and how the college fits into the greater community while we gain support for the plan. We will be engaging 3 key groups of stakeholders: the administrative body here at the college, the planning committee for this project, and then user groups of students, faculty, staff, and community stakeholders. We'll work both face-to-face and with a variety of media for greater transparency and outreach. And focus groups and workshops can include visioning sessions, a sustainability charrette, individual and group interviews, and interactive workshops and design charrettes. And we'll follow through with outreach tools like surveys, web-facilitated public input sites, blogs, and social media. But to begin, we focus on your vision.
Yes, the visioning process for us is really the foundation of a master plan. We start by looking at the vision and goals at the district level, at the campus level, at the level of the students, what the students feel, and the faculty and the community as well. And these are a number of the goals and vision that we heard in the visioning sessions in the Phase 1 process. It's a great start and a great basis for what we worked on in the Phase 1 master plan. We'll continue these and develop these as we continue into Phase 2, because these become our guiding principles, and they're what we use to evaluate the success of what we do in the planning process. So we'll come up with some planning options, we'll evaluate them against these guiding principles, and determine which options are meeting the most criteria and providing the best value and success for your project. The schedule for Phase 2 of the project is, as we're showing, sort of a cycle of meetings. It's a continuous process of learning and engagement. And again, as Celine said, we work with the larger administrative group, the day-to-day planning committee, and then the user groups, the community, and the students. So it's a series of meetings, a series of learning and building upon what we know to go from the conceptual to the more specific in the way of solutions. So Phase 2 is going to build upon what we've done in Phase 1. We have a very good, strong basis, but it's going to involve much more refinement through engagement with you and the campus community, because we had limited access to work with you during the competition, and a successful master plan will have a number, it's a partnership between all of you and the design team. And also, we can fully deliver the master plan within the schedule by fall. I think we had originally proposed a 6-month schedule, but we can work with you to work with your school calendar, schedule, and the people's availability, and we can deliver the scope for the budget that we proposed in the original master plan. So Ina's going to start talking to you a little bit about the research phase we do. We do some quantitative analysis to try and come up with realistic projections about your future growth.
Thank you. So in order to create a flexible and appropriate master plan, as James was saying, we need to look at the PCC vision and other qualitative issues, but we also need to look at quantitative issues that affect the campus. And what we've done is we've broadly grouped those quantitative issues into 3 groups, the first being looking at people, demographics, and enrollment, looking at your existing spaces being the second, and the third looking at your future space needs. And I'll briefly touch on a few of the topics that we covered in our quantitative analysis. So this is a chart that shows the California Community College Chancellor's Office's projections for PCC and its peers. They're projecting that PCC will grow faster than 5 of the 8 peers. Understanding peer facilities and their programs offers an opportunity for us to highlight areas of strength and weaknesses on PCC's campus. We also benchmarked things like workforce trends and looked at PCC's broad student population with the understanding that they have older students, first-generation students, international students, and in-district and out-of-district students. We also did our own projection of enrollment growth for PCC. We looked at full-time student equivalent projections. We projected that annually and also looking at one semester, the fall semester in this case. We projected based on historical growth and also a fixed % growth which will be vetted in Phase 2 to make sure that we're targeting the percent growth that's most appropriate for PCC. We heard in the visioning sessions that PCC wanted to target 30,000 FTE, and we found that that can easily be achievable by 2030. They also said that they wanted to target 5,000 students for online growth, and that's achievable. However, PCC will need to invest in growing their online programs and the spaces that support those online programs. We looked at utilization. We looked at classroom and class lab utilization, as well as full campus utilization. This is a preliminary look at your classroom utilization, looking at average weekly hours. And actually, PCC is very close to the Chancellor's Office target of 53 hours per week. It also helps us look at which rooms are more popular and which rooms aren't used as much. And that helps us give suggestions for ways to improve the utilization of your existing spaces so that you have to build less new space. We looked at class lab utilization. This chart is a look at days of the week and times of the day that class labs are scheduled. As you all know, your labs on campus are highly utilized, and we'll delve deeper into the way you schedule those in Phase 2. But we do know that you need to add labs to your campus inventory, especially to support the STEAM programs and your CTE programs. We looked at the campus as a whole in terms of space, how you categorize space and how you use it. And that helps us highlight opportunities for more shared uses, and it also helps us look at how you currently use your satellites and you might use them in the future. For example, your satellites now are mostly teaching spaces, and so students need to come back to the main campus to access a lot of the student services that might not be available on satellite campuses. And finally, after looking at the people and the existing space, we projected space. We projected it using a variety of models. This is a national model, and it shows that PCC, as I said earlier, the greatest need at PCC is for laboratory space, and the second greatest need is for just general use spaces across campus. We take the people, the existing space, the projections, we wrap that up with what we heard in your visioning, and we create total space projections for the entire campus. From that, we've developed building blocks for new buildings that need to come online and buildings that might need to be renovated before others, and we've developed phasing for that. Back to James.
All right, so the next topic is you asked us to look at the district-wide land use for future expansion beyond the main campus, but within your district, partly because you are landlocked and short on space here. So we wanted to understand where your students are coming from and able to do this. So we looked at the population density within your district to see where most of the students are living. We also understand that about over 60% of your students are coming from outside the district, and you can see a lot of them are coming here from the south and southwest areas below your district. We looked at median income because often the lower income areas are bringing a higher percentage of community college students. We also looked at this is where your current student population is living. So we looked at that, where they're living. Again, a number of them are outside of your district to the south. We also looked at transportation routes, the light rail stations, the bus lines, and the freeway access. And the oval areas represent areas where we feel you could grow facilities outside the main campus to bring education to the students. So our recommendations are to increase, you could grow the Rosemead campus and the CEC because they're both well positioned within the district to take on additional space and students, but also to add some new facilities, including the Cafe College concept to bring services to the students, but also other educational facilities similar to Rosemead, again, so that you can relieve the pressure on the main campus.
So the learning outcomes and student success increases with the level of engagement. This is to say that certainly on an academic teacher-to-student basis, but it's the physical environment and the careful placemaking which allows for student-to-student interaction and learning opportunities. These informal learning and gathering spaces are essential for student retention on campus, and in turn are fundamental for strengthening identity, the sense of belonging and ownership. As we evaluated our solutions and suggestions in this concept master plan, we looked at different scales on a district community basis, campus and immediate surroundings at the main campus, down to the building and the individual scale. So looking at the campus today, with its great historic core, very prominently located at Colorado Boulevard, it also is not without its challenges, particularly the perimeter. The edges around the campus are not exactly inviting. They're quite harsh in terms of letting the community in and having actually a visual presence to the closest of their neighbors. Now, looking at phase one, based on some of the analysis Ina had touched on earlier, we're looking at the light red areas to be the renovated core and renovated classroom buildings, and we identified the need for lab spaces and some of the sciences. So this block represents a science complex, a STEM building, very prominently located, but also considering careful sequencing down the road in terms of phasing. Another opportunity, fairly prominent at Hill and Colorado, are health sciences and allied sciences, the potential of bringing back some of your displaced programs which are currently off campus back to the main campus. So phase two starts to look at locating PE and athletic and recreational facilities at the corner of Bonnie and Del Mar to start inviting the community, to start making the edges more porous. It also is looking at a higher density classroom buildings at the center of the campus. And then ultimately at the full build-out, we started looking at the potential of density, balancing that with the projection of the future growth, as well as respecting and maintaining the central location of the historic core. In addition, we started looking at the potential for relevant industries, for public-private ventures and incubator spaces, those located, some of the tech incubator spaces potentially located to start to create a symbiosis with Caltech, with the whole college village concept, starting to look at housing potentially across the street from Colorado. So in the center of our development and the master plan concept has always been the historic core. So the legacy of Horace Mann, Jane Addams, and Louis Agassiz. And looking at the opportunity to make those edges really porous, combined with a strategic location of community-based programs at the perimeter in order to allow the boundaries to blur, to emphasize again the idea of a college village. And as mentioned earlier, some of the recreational facilities, community use facilities in the evenings and the weekends to be part of the porosity around the perimeter.
So, as we all know, vehicular access is a very important experience coming to PCC. And so the master plan creates 4 entry points, one on each side of the main campus. The most prominent being on Colorado Boulevard here, which serves the front door, the historic core, and a new information and student service building at this point. The others provide drop-off area and parking access for students, faculty, staff, and guests. And the master plan also identifies opportunities for future parking, both on and off campus, with the goal of reducing car dependency and future parking count. The plan considered solutions such as subgrade and automated parking. Furthermore, the plan supports increased access to public transportation and anticipates expanded use of the shuttle to serve both getting to the metro station as well as to satellite communities, and increased bike routes that tie into those of the city of Pasadena with bike share locations within the campus, and also accommodating car share and services like Uber and Lyft. All of which will tie into a pedestrian circulation system, which you can see of major and minor paths that improve especially the east-west movement across campus, allow penetration through the campus going north-south into the neighborhoods on either side. And this path system is coordinated with a set of open spaces that create the public realm.
So this network of open spaces, they open up to and relate to student-centric building programs. They are different scale as well as character to emphasize the different platforms of formal, informal gathering, maybe some community events. So differentiating structures as well as different seating arrangement to allow for different scales of gathering. So this is a view towards the east with Horace Mann here in the back of maybe the most prominent quad in the center. And then incorporating or on the idea of getting the community more involved, activating both sides of Colorado, truly making that the main east-west axis of the whole campus village concept. This is a view from the corner of Hill and Colorado, looking towards Horace Mann and the reflecting pool. And we believe a fundamental element to making this a 24/7 community and campus village, college village, is housing. Not only to reduce sort of the travel, but also to increase really the sense of identity. There's a potential for athlete housing, certainly international housing as well. Looking at quickly over the program distribution, for example, here to the west along Hill, the existing CTE automobile programs with some expansion of technology and engineering towards Caltech in blue, the before mentioned PE and recreational facilities, health sciences, the STEM building in correlation to the arts, sort of the idea of the interdisciplinary gathering. And we located student hubs, food courts, and living rooms, which emphasize the interdisciplinary interaction among students, which is so important for comprehensive education. So in black dashed lines are the new buildings suggested in the full build-out.
Okay, and just a real quick program summary. You can see the existing, where you are today, and then the look ahead to 2020 and 2030. The important numbers here are the main campus growth. From today to 2020 to 2030, you can go from approximately 1.1 million square feet to 1.2 million, which is a 10% net gain, but that includes about 30% rebuilding of existing facilities with new facilities. And then the full build-out potential for the main campus shows about 1.65 million square feet, which is about a 50% increase over what you have now. And then let's just quickly talk a little bit about some of the opportunities for innovation on the campus. Sustainability, of course, is a big one for that. We will work closely with you to set targets and goals for that, looking at net zero energy. We'll set targets and strategies for energy, carbon, water, waste, and materials, and look at different priorities that would work with the phasing and also evaluate which ones are the best value and the most cost-effective solutions for your campus. Also, active learning classrooms. You have opportunities as you renovate the existing classrooms and build new classrooms to provide learning environments that can transform from lecture-based to problem-based learning in the same class, increase student success in learning opportunities. The hubs that Satoshi mentioned are opportunities to create a living room for the campus Maybe there's a maker space, as you see on the lower right, where students can build prototypes and models. Collaboration, innovation, success centers can all be focused here. Study collaboration spaces are in very high demand. You can see that in your library now. But locating these around the campus and having a variety of space types and sizes and a variety of furniture types that the students can feel ownership of and make good use of. And breakout spaces. Learning is really happening everywhere on a campus, and facilitating that with furniture, in alcoves, in corridors, whatever, both inside the building and outside the building. You can utilize rooftops for outdoor classrooms, spaces between buildings, and actually the buildings in the campus itself can become a teaching tool. So now we just have the 1.5 minute animation, which I hope is going to work. Okay, good. The sound is very low. There was some music here, but we can narrate this. So starting with the existing aerial view of the campus, and this is the full build-out potential of the campus from the south looking toward the north. So Del Mar Boulevard at the bottom, Colorado Boulevard at the top. As you fly around, the building with the courtyard is the new STEM building on the existing U building site. You can see solar panels on the roof of the garages, rooftop parks. This is the existing quad from the campus student center looking toward Horace Mann. Coming around to the historic core of the campus along Colorado Boulevard. Emphasizing that historic quad with landscaping and extra potential. The Allied Health Building at the corner of Hill and Colorado. And additional development potential in the surrounding community with the housing and retail and commercial. This is looking down Colorado Boulevard at the College Village concept. And then flying across a little faster, you can see the rooftop potential with green roofs, the repurposed stadium, opening up the quads and opening up the back of Horace Mann so it can also become part of the heart of the campus from all sides. And then looking west, and this is one of the interdisciplinary hubs that will connect and engage the students. All right. Thank you. I think it's time for Q&A. Thank you.
Great.
Are we on time?
Perfect timing.
Okay,
So I think you guys know the routine now. So please, come on over to the mic. So we have about 5 minutes for some questions for this team.
How many student housing units were you envisioning?
We proposed 2,000 housing units for the full build-out potential around the campus. This was based on a goal in the visioning session. We heard of someone that suggested growing the international student population to 3,000 students. So we took about 2/3 of that to provide housing for that. And then there would be an additional 571 cars parking provided just for the housing.
But you say 2,000 housing units?
2,000 beds, yes.
Right, okay. And who would own it?
I'm sorry?
Did you have any idea of how the ownership would be structured?
We looked at different ways. There could be public-private partnerships. You could have developers come in and build them for you. You could build them yourselves. You could buy the land and have the developer do that. You can work out different financing arrangements where they provide you income from them. There are a lot of opportunities to explore for providing those.
Are there some models for that at community colleges in California?
Yes. A number of community college districts are looking at in urban areas now as well, because it's a good way to attract additional students. It's higher revenue potential for the tuition of the international students. It's a good way to build student success, get a 24/7 college atmosphere on campus. So there are a number of benefits to it and other campuses we can look to for models.
Thank you.
Any other questions for this team? Right, you have a couple minutes. If you had anything else you wanted to share with anybody, you have
Okay.
3 minutes left.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really keeps us on target. Well, maybe just to summarize quickly why we feel our team is a good fit for this project, and we're certainly very excited about the project and very enthusiastic about it and very glad it's come back to life. So I think one of the reasons that we feel we're a good fit is that we bring a shared passion for innovation You know, your founding fathers were looking toward innovation as they developed the campus, and I think you have great opportunities for innovation and rethinking the future of education and learning on this campus, especially with online learning, the flipped classroom concept, the active learning environments. Also, I think we bring a sort of a transformative process that works with you. It's driven by your vision and your goals, and it's a very collaborative and engaging process that includes all the stakeholders, allows everybody's voices to be heard. And last, I think we bring a distinct excellence in planning and design for colleges and universities throughout the country. We can help you benchmark similar facilities, and incorporating design that's going to honor the past, as your campus has done, but also reflects the future of your campus and your district. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Yeah. So since we've been so efficient tonight, and our teams have been so good about getting up here and having their materials ready and our technologies worked, we have a few extra minutes if there's any questions actually to Ruben, myself, or anyone here at the campus about the selection process or what's going on forward. Just to let you know, we're hoping that a final team decision will be made before the end of this year. We have, the campus has established a very strong evaluation team who is going through the very detailed submissions that each of these teams has provided. And you've seen a taste of it tonight, but all of the different programs, all the different background, this technical evaluation team will be going through that. The Board of Trustees will also be hearing about this and understanding some of the nuances as well. I don't know, Ruben, would you like to add anything to that?
No. I do want to take an opportunity to thank Staging Services, who's done a great job tonight, the facility teams that have done a great job setting up and working through this process. And I also want to recognize Mindy Craig from Blue Point Planning, who's done a great job as a facilitator throughout the process, and she did a great job as a moderator tonight. So, thank you.
So please, please let us have your little evaluation sheets. We really want to hear from you what your opinions are. We're going to incorporate that into our decision making. One of the many inputs we'll be taking on this. So you can either give it to me or to the women who are sitting in front where you got those when you walked in. Again, thank you very much for spending your evening with us. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.